Broad topics, broad minds, broad hosts, but not just for broads. This is Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Kim Goldman.
Well, hello, Jackie McDougall.
Hello, world. How are you today?
I am doing well. I am managing. That's what I'm doing.
All right. All right.
That's all we can ask of me today.
Well, you know, in a brilliant segue, Target is also managing a lot of criticism.
What?
See what I did there? Bam! First of all, you're listening to Broadscast on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and 8 stations and counting around the country.
Spreaker.
Do you want us on your radio station? Why don't you call your radio station and let them know I want Broadscast? And maybe they'll make it happen. Maybe we'll make it happen. Maybe we'll make your dreams come true. So anyway, I'm really excited about today because the Target controversy is everybody's talking about it. And we've got 2 of the people who are getting the most attention for their opinions on this. Well, first of all, Kim, why don't you update us?
I was going to say, you mean it's not me? It's not I'm not getting the most attention.
It's your take too, but tell us what is happening at Target other than you're spending too much money.
Target has come out this past week, no pun intended, in their support of allowing transgender people to use the bathroom with which they identify, as opposed to lawmakers in North Carolina, for example, who have a sweeping ban against people that are transgender, gay, or lesbian to use bathrooms that they are not, that don't identify with their gender-born identity. If that all makes sense.
Okay.
So basically, this is the uproar. People are upset because it's causing chaos and safety issues are being raised and discrimination issues are being raised, and that's what's happening. And so, like, more than 500,000 people have signed this petition across the country to boycott Target. I was very thankful for that. Went shopping this week and was in and out in under 20 minutes because there were no lines, there was no people.
For $4,000, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my
the
biggest...
irony, let me just tell you this quick story. I was in line to return something, and a woman walked up to the Target lady, and she said, "Hi, our Target by my house is being remodeled. And so everything's in disarray." And this woman says, "Hey, where's the bathroom? Like, are the bathrooms still where they were?" And the Target lady said, "Yes, it's down that corridor." She said, "But it's only the men's room." And she said, "Yes, the female's bathroom is being worked on." And she said, "So I have to go into the men's room?" And the lady said, "Yeah." And it was hilarious because this woman had this look of like, oh, what? I just thought it was funny because now everyone has to use one bathroom.
Right.
Just because.
Well, you know, I was having this conversation with my sister-in-law and brother-in-law earlier last weekend, and they were talking about, you know, their time in Italy and traveling and in Europe. And, you know, it was not unusual to go into a co-ed bathroom.
Right.
You know, I mean, my biggest problem with being in a man's bathroom is, you know, wipe the seat, you know? Is that so hard?
We're a very sexualized country. So, you know, everything becomes about that. You know, I don't know. I get it. I get it, the discussion. I don't get the hate and all the bigotry that comes with these discussions, but I get it.
Yeah, but you know, one thing that the problem, I think, with the political climate of our country is not just that people don't agree, is that they have to be so, on both sides, so cruel and so scary that, you know, it's, how can you have an intelligent conversation when everyone is so hateful, both sides,
right?
You know, so let's say somebody is totally against it and they just don't feel comfortable, and that's just not, they're not able to wrap their heads around it. Are we supposed to then, you know, yell at them and scream at them? And, you know, you see that with people who have their own political beliefs, and then the liberal side, which, you know, I'm pretty liberal myself, but the liberal side will go over and call them names and this and that. That doesn't seem any more tolerant than what you're trying to preach on your side.
Yeah, I personally feel the older I get, I realize that we are far more becoming a entitled society and a less tolerant society than I would have thought would happen as we all matured and sophisticated and more things were presented to us as options. I feel like we're regressing in some ways. So I'm interested to hear how our guests today feel about some of those things. And I don't know.
Right. So, well, we have two guests coming up, and one of them is Cate from Mary from Martha. She wrote an open letter to Target on her blog, Mary from Martha, and has gotten, I mean, she's completely against it. And she puts, her words on paper or, on her blog in a well thought out, non-hateful way. But we may not agree with them, but we still, I'm interested in hearing where,
I think it's going to be enlightening. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we also, on the flip side, have the liberal redneck. I can't even say that. Trae Crowder. So I should say self-described liberal redneck, who did a video on Facebook that is getting a ton of attention because he's, I think you expect, based on history, him to have a certain view, and it's not what you think. So we're going to talk to him coming up in the show as well. So
yeah, don't we have somebody else later in the show? I think, right?
I love how you did that. Later in the show, we do. So what do you think of Uber for women and children only and female drivers?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know. I get it. I get it. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Uber in general, although I've used it. I still don't know how I feel. Uber's not getting such a warm welcome these days, but this is an alternative to that, which I appreciate.
Michael Pellets, a former Uber driver, and his wife are creating a company called Safe Her.
So clever.
So it's what they call an Uber for women and children. So, and it's all about safety. And so we're going to talk to him later in the show.
Wow, we have a jam-packed show today.
Yeah, so I think we should stop yapping and just get to it. What do you think?
I think it's good. I think if you're just joining us, it's Broadscast with Jackie McDougall and Kim Goldman.
And we'll be right back.
You're listening to Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall. Two broads with faces made for radio.
Welcome back to Broadscast. We are here today talking about Target and their new restroom policy. And no one better to join the discussion than Cate from Mary from Martha. She wrote an open letter to Target regarding their new restroom policy. And we've got Cate on the line. Hi, Cate.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Sure.
So can you give us, I know that you and I talked offline a little bit, and this post has been huge for you. Can you, first of all, give us a little bit of what people are responding to and what they're saying?
Sure. We've had a lot of views, and we've had a lot of mixed responses on both sides. We've had, on the side that also is not interested in the gender neutral bathrooms, you've got a lot of support, thank you for writing this letter, and may we share it. And then on the other side, you have a lot of people, a few people who have been extremely kind and very generous and offering their opinions in, very nice ways where they're open to discussion and, they want to come to a solution. They want to talk about it. But we have had a lot of just ugliness. I've had death threats.
Oh my gosh.
I had one person tell me that they hoped I would pee by a dumpster and be brutally murdered and then rot in my urine. I mean, it's just, there has been craziness.
Wow.
But I mean, we've had a lot of mixed reviews.
Well, I mean, Kim and I have had numerous discussions because she's faced, some pretty colorful messages in the past, and and we talk about it's amazing what people will say behind the anonymity or not even anonymity of their computers.
Yes, it's like that on the internet. There's really no accountability for anything, so it's kind of a free for all. Where, we live in that age now where there's really not any accountability.
Right. So give us a little bit of some of the points that you made in that post. I think it's more effective coming from you than my reading it to you.
No, sure. I just, in my post, I just kind of told Target, and that was my original thing, was I just posted it on the Target page, and then I shared it on my blog. For me, this isn't about transgender, non-transgender. For me, this is about safety. And when, we've had people that have said they've gone in and asked, Target staff about this problem, and what they're responding with is that the bathrooms there are basically gender neutral now. And so my issue lies not with transgendered people, they've been using the bathroom for years. And my issue lies in the fact that when we create a gender neutral atmosphere in the bathrooms, anyone can walk in. And whereas, on the other side, you've got people saying, well, a sign is not stopping anyone from going in and raping people. And that may be true. But what you end up with is when there's a sign on the door and it's out of place for a man to be in the woman's restroom, then you're not going to see as much of I feel, the sexual assaults and the peeping Toms and stuff, where when you bring in a gender neutral bathroom, they can walk in and you can't look at them. There's no accountability there. They're welcome there. Men are welcome in the women's restroom. Women are welcome in the men's restroom. It's about accountability. It's about safety for me.
Okay. And what would you say, though, if you had a transgender woman, who needs to use the bathroom and is going into the men's room, and, what happens there to her safety? Or vice versa, you have a woman, it's tough. I mean, I understand the safety. I in some ways I feel like it's safer because now I could tell my husband, come on in, come with me.
Right. Well, here's my thing with that. Transgendered people have been using the restroom with which they identify for years. And typically a transgender person, no one knows what gender, what sex they were born. And so this has been, I've learned a lot through this blog post and through the reactions of people. And what I've learned is that I feel like it has become a safety issue for transgendered people too. Whereas before, no one was really looking. No one was really concerned about it. Now, people who may be hateful now they're searching for it. They're wondering, is this person transgendered? Is this person not? And it doesn't matter. They just want to go to the bathroom. But now you have people that are searching it out and that may be hateful. And I feel like they've been put at risk too.
So then what do you think the resolution would be to that?
Well, my resolution would have been to just leave it all alone in the first place.
Well,
we see the North Carolina bill that was just come through and, where they want people to use the bathroom of the gender that they were assigned at birth. And I have mixed feelings on this because, as a Christian, Christians want you to say one thing and, it's all, for me as a Christian, I have to agree with what the Bible says because that's the word of God. On the other hand, I don't believe that this bill had anything to do with Christianity. I believe that this bill you cannot enforce a rule of people using the restroom of the gender they were assigned at birth. Unless you're going to check their birth certificates as they're walking in the restroom, it's not enforceable. So What was the point of it?
Well, and it's funny. I think the same thing, but I don't understand why there was this, because I've been trying feverishly to research why Target came out with this policy, and is it in opposition to the North Carolina ban, or did something happen? Why the sudden press release about something that's already been going on? Does anybody know that answer?
My personal beliefs are political correctness. It's a big company, and I have a hard time believing that a big corporate company has really any cares about what happens to the everyday person. Political correctness and the bottom line is kind of what speaks.
Well, I think the bottom line for a company like Target is money.
Right.
But
they already have anti-discrimination policies anyway.
Right.
You already have that. My question is why the press release about this particular topic? My question is it because of the ban that was the law that was just passed in North Carolina? Some musicians have stopped going to North Carolina because they're showing their opposition towards that ban. Is Target's way of showing their opposition? Because it would have already been in place, as far as I understand, if you're an anti-discrimination.
Right. I honestly don't know. I can't speak for them. I'd love to hear that, though. I'd love to hear kind of what was this in response to, if anything.
Right, because it usually doesn't come out of nowhere. But I'm
right.
trying to look that up at the same time. But
I tried to.
It says that they caved to pressure from the Obama administration and liberal activists. But. I don't know. So, but you made a really interesting point in your post about how small the population is. First of all, I think, apparently that website has, apparently That website has automatic music. Anyway, you made a point about, such a small population. First of all, I think that there are a lot of people who identify as transgender or gay or lesbian or, that we don't necessarily know. So to guess what the population is, I think sometimes can be a little more difficult. But at the same time, if you go back to Civil War days, right? And
oh, she's busting out history.
I know,
in trouble.
And I'm terrible at history. My dad used to call me Rudolph because I always went down in history. But African Americans were not this small of a population, but they were a small population, and people fought for the abolishment of slavery and for equal rights, and even into the 60s, and even now. But so what would you say if we're talking about these small populations and trying to give them basic human rights? And how big does the population have to be before their rights matter? That's all I'm saying.
It's is using the restroom in the bathroom you want a basic human right? I mean, we all have the right to go to the bathroom, and most transgendered people have been using the restroom of their choice not really of their choice, but of which the gender they identify for years. So, I mean, you would have to, it's an arguable point of what is and what is not a basic human right. And, I personally don't feel like it's equatable with, race, but many people do. Right.
And I mean, we could discuss that all day.
Yeah, but the safety issue was part of that discussion back in the civil rights too. That if there were people that believed that the African American communities were violent people, right? And so if you give them access to nonviolent people, that's going to create violence. I mean, I think that was part of that discussion back then, and I think that's what people are latching onto in this particular situation. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence, not in terms of whether or not I personally don't care. I asked my son about it. He doesn't seem to care because he's busy in his stall, not really paying any attention. But, because I try to think, does it make me feel uncomfortable? Would it make a child feel uncomfortable? I'm truly trying to understand from all perspectives, and I can't totally figure out why people are so up in arms about something that really doesn't impact them. Because if you're talking about safety, if someone's going to try to violate you, they're going to do it wherever they want to do it, regardless if you're allowed to or not. You're already breaking the law, so a bathroom sign isn't really going to stop you.
Right, and that's been a lot of the argument, that the bathroom sign isn't going to stop you. And like I said, while that's true and the bathroom sign won't stop anyone who wants to hurt someone, at least if let's take men, and this is absolutely just as true as far as women and little boys, or women and but let's take a man, because that's, I guess, it's kind of sexist, but that's kind of the way that
predominant crimes against
men. So let's take a man that is wanting to follow a child into the women's restroom. If he were to follow her in there the way that things have typically been, and a woman were to walk in, she would immediately, a red flag would go up. She would think, whoa, wait a minute, something's not right. This person could have evil intentions. And then she could make the decision to stay, just, meander, wash her hands a little bit longer just to make sure that the child is safe. Or alert someone. There's a red flag that goes up there.
Right.
It makes the child just a little bit safer, knowing that everyone is kind of watching out.
But Kate, do you think, you have 2 daughters, yes? I do notice it's fascinating to watch that a lot of women with daughters, or only daughters, are a lot more cautious and scared and talking about this, when, before my daughter, I had 2 boys, and I still stand outside the men's room, and I'm like that crazy woman, like, are you okay in there? And just kind of making sure that they're okay. And they're 11 and 10. And that's been the culture since they were little. I have no control. I mean, you can go into the bathroom with your child, your daughters, but I can't, history has proven I can't go in with my boys. And we've had to have conversations. We've had about safety. I've had to teach them skills. We've had to come up with systems. So I think that let's just say that men are the ones, and our daughters are in danger. Why shouldn't we be, as moms of girls, be doing the very same thing to protect our children as we are as moms of boys?
We absolutely should. I mean, I would never send my daughter into the, my husband has a very young sister. She just turned 10. And, even though these same discussions have been had with her, I still don't send her into the restroom by herself. My mother-in-law won't let her go in the restroom by herself. And I also, likewise, I have little brothers who are 9 and 10 now. And, I still would do the same, standing outside and, push that door open. Hey guys, you okay? Everything coming out all right?
Yeah, but here, there was a case a couple years back that there was a man that let oh my gosh, I can't remember if it was a man or a woman, that let their son go into the bathroom alone because he was 11 years old, and he was violated in the bathroom with the parents standing outside the door.
Right.
And this was
and that's the thing.
Happened.
I think that the safety issue is the safety issue no matter what. I think that if anything, this is getting us talking about what we should be doing. Kim and we've had these conversations for the past 5 years, when her son got up a few years ago and walked into a bathroom, and I was like, oh, what's that like? Because my oldest has some special needs, and I didn't necessarily trust that everything was going to, down to the basic wash your hands part of it, but so I was a little envious. What's that?
Well, what do you say to the critics, Cate, that say that the issue of safety is coming up in this to mask people's discrimination towards, or their intolerance towards people that are gay or lesbian or transgender?
I would say that, in some cases, I'm sure that's true. In other cases, I happen to know that it's not, because I am one of those cases. For me, let me say this. I have 5 brothers and a sister. And 5 years ago, one of my brothers killed himself. He was 20 years old.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Was gay. He was molested as a child. He struggled with it his entire life. And people were, myself included, because I was a stupid teenager and wanted to fit in and was just ignorant at the time. People were hateful. And it ultimately led to horrible depression and eventual death. And for me, from that time, it kind of, for me, it created this compassion and this empathy, because I now know what it's like to lose someone to something like that. And, I watched him struggle with this his entire life. And so I know that not from firsthand experience, but from watching him, I know, the struggle that is going on between these families and between, the gays. And while he wasn't transgendered, there's still that element. Right. So I say, personally, and I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for myself. It's not masking anything. For him, he didn't have anyone to stand up for him when he was molested. He was betrayed by his mother, and he was sold out for drugs.
Oh my gosh.
It was something children have to have someone to stand up for them. They have to. They can't do it themselves. And we are not going to be able to prevent every single instance. We're just not. But we can do what we can to protect them and to protect ourselves. And, it's not, like I said, for me, this is never about transgender or whatever. This was purely about safety.
Right. Well, we really appreciate your opinion and your thoughts and
your honesty. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that we can't have honest discussion unless we come from all sides and speak openly and respectfully.
Right. That's the most important thing. We will never, ever come to an agreement if you've got one side yelling, you're gay, you don't matter, and the other side yelling, you're a bigot, no one cares. You're never going to come to an agreement. You're never going to be able to see both sides if you're too busy yelling.
Right.
Well,
Absolutely.
We want people to visit you online. We do not want them to send you death threats and hate mail.
No, we do not.
But we want them to find you at maryfrommartha.com so they can read your open letter to Target, but any other enlightening posts that you may write about. So thank you, Cate, so much for coming on our show today.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
I appreciate y'all.
Okay. Bye, Cate.
Bye-bye.
Well, I'm glad we can have this conversation respectfully. What are your thoughts, Kim?
My head is swirling. Like I said, I can see all sides of it. I don't know.
the thing is, no matter what, like, we can open minds for each other. Like, she can open ours, we can open that. Like, everybody can help open another person's mind, but we're never going to live in a place where we all think the same. So why not try to understand each person's point? But it is fascinating too, though, that moms of girls sometimes seem to be like, it's like, welcome to the party. We've been worrying about certain things since,
right.
Since, you know what I mean? Like, weren't you that way with your son in the bathroom when he was younger?
I am, but I worry about things in all elements of life, not just about this. I understand the point of people saying that people will take advantage of it, but I think people have been taking advantage of laws in our society and our safety and our protection for decades. So I don't know that I subscribe to the belief that this exacerbates that problem. This is going to create it. If some big hairy man walked into the bathroom, I'm leaving. I'm not going to be like, oh, he's probably transgender. I'm going to leave the bathroom. So like, I still have that option to excuse myself, even if someone walks in. Like I see that point. I don't know. I want to be inclusive and I want to support all those things. But I also understand people that are uncomfortable with it. I totally get it.
Right. Okay. Well, we are going to take a break, and we have a lot more Broadscast when we come back. So stay with me, okay, Kim?
Oh, I think I will.
Okay.
You're listening to Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall, the most riveting hour of radio ever.
Why should you become a Broadscast sponsor? Broad multimedia exposure, including radio, web, iTunes, YouTube, and social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
A quick, easy way to reach your target demo, women. Exclusive, limited time only, affordable introductory rates.
Plus 20 years experience in on-air and online marketing. We produce your one-of-a-kind creative in-house, saving you time and money.
For more on becoming a Broadscast sponsor, visit broadscast.com today.
What does being a broad mean to you?
A broad tells it like it is. Doesn't take no for an answer.
She exudes confidence.
A warrior princess of the urban jungle.
Being a broad is being diverse.
Strong enough to do things on your own, but smart enough to know when to ask for help.
We succeed. We get right to the top.
Being a broad is 10% of what happens to you and 90% how you deal with it.
Broadscast, where every broad's voice matters.
You're listening to Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Sweet Little Jackie.
Welcome back to Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall. So we're going to listen to the other side of the Target discussion. Nobody more colorful than this guy, and I had a chance to talk to him yesterday. So take a listen.
I've been seeing all these Facebook posts about transgender bathrooms, and every one of them comes down to the same. Well, hell, what's to stop some pervert from wrapping a skirt around his wiener and going in the ladies' room with my baby girl? I ain't having that. We gotta watch out for the kids. Meanwhile, these are the same that put Mountain Dew in sippy cups and beat a 6-year-old with a wire hanger for standing in front of the TV during Dr. Oz. Y'all are so full of
Okay, so Trae, welcome to the show.
Hey.
You consider yourself, or you're the self-proclaimed liberal redneck.
That's right. Yeah, that's me. As of last Wednesday, it's especially me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, your video, when I was looking at it, it looked like it had like at least 20 million hits.
Yeah, it's like hovering up around like 21 million right now.
Oh my
on
gosh.
Facebook.
And what kind of response have you gotten? I just played a little clip from it, but of course I had to bleep like every third word.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. What kind of response have you had?
Honestly, and it might be hard to believe, but I'd say 90 to 95% super positive response.
Wow.
A lot of it has been really like touching. Honestly, I've heard from a whole lot of not just transgender people, but just others in the LGBT community, and also a lot of parents of people in the LGBT community. Just really like sweet, heartfelt messages, just about how they appreciate, especially in the South, and with coming from that type of person, so to speak, to hear like support for them. They really liked it. So the response has been mostly good, but not entirely.
Well, it's never entirely. It's funny though, because you talk about that being from the South, people do automatically make these assumptions, which I think is kind of interesting given the topic here. that they just assume that, oh, he's Southern, so he's going to think one way. But I think what really has resonated with people is the fact that you are so funny and you use humor. So yes, you're making your point, but you're not screaming at people. I mean, you are actually kind of, berating them, but in a funny way. So do you think that's kind of opened up people's minds a little bit?
I hope so. I mean, I've always felt like, and this is not no novel concept or anything, but, I think it's way easier to talk about really serious subjects like through humor. That's what a lot of, comedians try to do and always have tried to do. So, I mean, yeah, I definitely think that helps. And I'm a stand-up comic and have been for, 5+ years. And so still just, figuring it all out and everything. But that's why I made that's why I had the idea for this video series anyway. It was just like a comedic exercise or to be funny, but I wanted to talk about actual issues, and those are all my actual beliefs and opinions. But I mean, first and foremost, I just wanted them to be funny, but I didn't think that it would take off like it has, though. I mean, obviously nobody expects that kind of thing. So yeah, it's been pretty crazy.
I mean, to put out a video and then suddenly find yourself on Broadscast, I mean, that's got to be pretty overwhelming.
Pretty overwhelming. Yeah.
But I mean, so even the media has been reaching out to you and getting your opinion. I mean, this is great. It's amazing to me because, growing up in Boston, there was a huge comedy, culture there, and the amount of work and what they had to do. And I'm not saying it's not hard now, but if you're funny, it's a lot easier to be discovered. Do you think?
Yeah, Steve Martin, he just said, his advice in one of his books just said, just be undeniable, be undeniably great or undeniably funny. But I mean, obviously that's a very Steve Martin thing to say, because
right.
That'd be great. Oh, so I should just be funny? Yeah, that's a good idea. I should try it next time.
Right. But Bill Martin up the street could say the same thing and no one cares. So,
but to answer your question though, yeah, if you are legitimately funny, I mean, yeah, it's definitely way easier because it gives you power to talk about a lot of other things. I think if you can make it funny, then you can talk about pretty much anything, I think. So that helps a lot,
Right. You can get as inappropriate as necessary. So what about, where you live and being in the South? What kind of reaction have you gotten from your own community, your family? Do they kind of think the way you do? And give us, for anybody who didn't see the whole video, give them a little bit of a teaser and we'll put that up on our website, but give us a little teaser of what you said in the video. What's your point on this topic?
Well, I've since made another one that came out yesterday. It's about the Target boycott, so it's still that kind of the same underlying topic. Right. But the first one was about the idea of people are against having transgender people being allowed in the bathrooms they identify with because, well, that makes it easier for perverts. Now, perverts can go in there and sexually assault women because all they got to say is, well, but I identify as a woman, so now I can go in here. And the whole point of it was just that's ridiculous. Because we're talking about changing the way that it's always been. That's what I said in the video was transgender people have been around forever. What bathrooms do you think they've been using?
Right.
And how long has this ever been a problem? But you're creating a problem. And then another point I made in it was, and little boys, because everybody's talking about my little girl, not my little girl, but what about little boys? Because the vast majority of people that prey on little boys are adult males.
Right.
And these bathroom laws don't affect them at all one way or another. So I said, so unless you're also talking about making separate bathrooms for Catholic priests, then I think you need to just stop with the BS and say what you really mean, because I do believe that. I think that's just a way for them to get their discriminatory belief. They just don't want transgender people in the bathroom with them. They just don't want them. It's just a way for them to hate, basically, or
right.
to be against the LGBT community. It's just another way. I genuinely don't think that most of these people even believe the sexual predator argument. I really don't. It's just that's their straw man that they've all decided to use, and so that's what they're going. And it's just ridiculous. It makes no sense.
Mm-hmm. I've been saying that all week. I have 2 boys and a girl, and the boys came first, and I've been outside that door ready to pounce for 11 years now. I think that safety is safety no matter what. You don't send your child into any bathroom without some sort of plan for safety.
Yeah, and I mentioned that in the video too. It's like, they're not going to attack your daughter, especially not with, and in the video I say your mouth breathing troglodyte daddy standing 12 feet outside the door, But just any parent, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're a parent, what are you going to do? Just like, oh, well, it's in God's hands now. I don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You should be being vigilant no matter what. And also, if you're going to sexually assault people, are you going to even begin to care about like bathroom regulations or laws? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Pretty sure it's already illegal to assault people to begin with.
Like a silhouette of a dress or pants on a door is what's going to stop you.
It's going to stop you, right? And literally none of it makes sense to me.
Have you seen today out? I just saw a little bit ago this meme or this post that's going around, and it's a transgender male. And the fact is that he would have to go into, and he's a big guy, and facial hair and the whole thing. And so he would, given these laws, like in North Carolina, would have to go into the ladies' room. And so what are they going to do then?
Right. Like, that's going to be totally fine with them. You know what I mean? Yeah. It makes the people that have an issue with this whole thing, like, they're going to be all right with that guy walking in there because he was born a woman or whatever. I mean, and then one of my new transgender followers and fans, I guess, on Facebook, I thought made a pretty good point about this the other day too. Afterwards, she said, I mean, if you're using that same logic, then this law makes it even easier on a predator, really, because they can just walk in and they don't even have to dress up, because they can just say that they're a trans man and that they were born a woman. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, guy in guy's clothes. It's like, oh, but I was born a woman, so I'm actually supposed to be here. And so, like, they don't even have to put on a costume or whatever this ridiculous stuff people worried about. They can just say that. And the counter argument is, well, no, but they're getting ID'd or whatever. And my whole thing with that is, by who? Really?
Right.
Like, are we going to hire a whole new, like a TSA, but for bathrooms now?
Well, and then that's really against, any sort of laws, because you can't, go up to anybody and ask, like, I don't think a police officer can go up to anybody and just ask for more information, or I don't know. I don't really know, but I just know that I love the way you broach the topic and use humor and get people, sharing. And so where can people find you? What's upcoming for you? Are we staying with the Target topic? Or
when I intend to, when I first made up the character, and actually the very first video I did was about Tennessee trying to make the Holy Bible its official state book, was the first video, and then the second video was the one that went viral like it did, and then I put out a third one yesterday about Target. But so this transgender bathroom deal, that's what everybody's talking about,
right? So
that's been what my videos have been about, but I intend to talk about just a wide array of different political subjects. So I'm definitely going to keep the character going and keep the videos going. For right now, you can find me on Facebook. It's Trae Crowder. And then also the same thing on Twitter at Trae Crowder. And I post all the videos and stuff on there. And again, I'm a comedian, and I'm also working on an upcoming tour. And
cool.
all the tour information, that's in its infancy. We're trying to figure out the best way to go about that. But all that information to be posted on social media and stuff too, so you can keep up with me that way. One thing I did want to tell you that I've thought was real interesting about this, if we've got just a second.
Of course.
And you could. I said I had 95% positive response, and that's true. Of the 5% that were negative, most of them were just your standard internet trolls, like, oh, I bet you're the gay one. I bet you like wearing a dress, that kind of deal.
Right.
Then this I thought was really interesting. There's also another segment of negative responses that are calling me a phony or a fake, saying that I'm faking all this. This can't be real, who I really am. And what's interesting about it is those people fall into two different camps, and those camps could not be more polar opposites of each other. There's other, like, more stereotypical rednecks like you would think of, and they're like, you ain't a real redneck. No real redneck loves queers, that kind of thing. And then on the other side, saying the exact same thing is super, super, super liberal people who are like, I don't believe this guy. This isn't authentic because in their mind, literally everyone who has a Southern accent or would identify as a redneck is either homophobic or racist or, just inbred hick,
right.
faking it. And I
That's
just think
fascinating.
That's so funny. No, because I can't imagine any other subject that would ever bring these two groups of people together, but they have united in their dislike for me. So like,
the anti-Trae crowd.
I managed to bring those two together to crap all over me, basically. But yeah, I thought that was the funniest.
So you're really uniting this country one joke at a time. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Apparently, breaking down walls.
Hey, so I started to go there and then I stopped for some strange reason. But so what does your family think? What do your friends think? What do like the people around you that are closest to you think?
Well, most of my closest friends are like-minded with me.
Mm-hmm.
I put that up. That's what I'm saying. People have been saying, you're a unicorn. Oh, it's crazy. I literally didn't think people like you existed. And it's like, the South, even like all the red states vote like in the 40% 40s in percentage of, Democrat in each election. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah, they're somewhere on the scale of liberal to moderate, but still, like, there's plenty of people that are, left leaning who live in the South. So most of my close friends are people who feel similarly to me. So, I mean, they love it. They're all about it.
Right.
And then my family is actually real small. My mom's side of the family is real big, but we don't have like the best relationships. I don't deal with them too much. They're more stereotypical, what you would expect. So they are not loving it. But again, I'm not in contact with them.
Right.
But like my dad, he passed away, but on my dad's side, my uncle, he's gay. And so he's loving every
he's
single
like, that's
minute.
my boy.
He's absolutely loving it. And I've only got one sibling, a sister. She loves it. But now my in-laws, my wife's family, the Dynasty crowd, and they're not. Some of her family members aren't talking to her right now. So,
oh wow!
But she's on my side. She agrees with me, so she's okay with it. To hell with them, kind of thing. If that's how they're gonna. But so there's definitely a lot of people that don't like it, but most of the people like closest to me are all about it, and they're loving it. So that's been good. I haven't damaged any like really super important relationships that are just gone now or anything.
Right.
I haven't burned any bridges yet.
There's still time, but it's fascinating. And I think you have a video in front of you of like all of these, racist groups and all the things that we're not allowed to be, right? Like look at people for LBG, skin color, we're trying to be a lot more, not just tolerant, but embracing other people who have maybe different views or this and that. But it's still okay to completely stereotype a Southerner. What is that?
I'm glad you brought that up because I hesitate to talk about it because I don't want to sound like because honestly, it doesn't even come close to comparing to like other people, to like what gay people have gone through and black people and all that.
Correct.
But so I don't want to sound like that, all white man's burden about it. But
right.
But since you brought it up, I mean, yeah, it kind of blows my mind sometimes. These like I said earlier, those like super, super liberal people that are like, you're fake, that's not real, you're faking it. That type of person literally does not exist. And I'm just like, being prejudiced against poor white Southerners with an accent, like that still counts as prejudice. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's no different than any other kind of like racism or homophobia or whatever. Like, you're generalizing an entire group of people that I'm a part of because of like the perceived actions of the, vocal majority or whatever. And it's like, that's not fair. And it's fake. It's hypocritical and it's fake liberal too. You know what I mean? Like that's not liberal to act that way.
Right.
And most people have been, or I've gotten a whole lot of messages too. Like, you know what? You made me realize that I've just been another type of closed-minded bigot because I've felt that way about Southerners this whole time, and you made me, what? I've gotten a lot of that, which has been awesome.
Right.
But there's still been a whole lot of like the ultra left that have been saying like, whatever, dude, this ain't, this isn't real. There's no such thing as a liberal redneck, that kind of deal. So yeah, it is fascinating. It's still, I genuinely think that we are the last, group in the country with any kind of significant numbers that it's just pretty much completely socially acceptable to stereotype or generalize or whatever.
And it's interesting because there are a lot of different, I talk about this all the time because, my last name's MacDougall. So I'll go somewhere and they're like, hey, MacDougall, or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, you would never, if I had an Asian last name or, even Italian, like I remember growing up and people would, do the whole Italian thing. But it's funny because they're just certain groups. And it's, maybe it's if you haven't struggled enough in the past, it's okay to make fun of them now. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But it's an interesting topic.
It is. No, yeah, it's. I mean, that's something I've thought a lot about because especially as I've gotten older and doing comedy and going outside the South and other places. I mean, I run into that a lot. Like people hear me talk that don't know me at all, and I mean, they definitely make a lot of assumptions about me, most of which are just not true at all. And even with the video, a lot of people have commented like saying like this idiot needs to go back to school, get out of the woods and all this stuff. It's like, man, I got 2 degrees, man.
Right.
I'm an educated person. I don't know. But so it does kind of get to be sometimes, but I mean, I can't be too mad because it plays into my favor with this whole thing that's going on right now.
Exactly. And we're, on this show, we're all about using your voice, however you find it and make it heard. So we really have mad props to you. Yes, and I'm 45 and just use the term mad props. So there's probably a group of people to make fun of me. So anyway, Trae, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
And good luck. We'll be looking for that next video.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
See you.
That was Trae Crowder. If you haven't checked out his video, we have it on our broadscast.com page as well as on his Facebook at Trae, Trae Crowder. We will be right back right after this message.
You're listening to Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall, the most riveting hour of radio ever.
Well, welcome back. Thanks for staying, Jackie.
Oh, I'm always staying. I'm always here.
All right. So for our new listeners, welcome back to Broadscast with Jackie McDougall and myself, Kim Goldman. Joining us in this segment, we have Michael Pellets, who is the founder of what used to be Chariot for Women, but has now made a leap over to Save Her, which is for layman's terms, it's Uber for women. Is that right, Michael?
You are correct. It's women drivers for women and children passengers only.
Fantastic. All right. So tell us, I love on your website, I'm looking like the big idea. So tell us how your big idea came to fruition to come up with Save Her.
Okay. Well, I was a former rideshare driver for about 9 months. And I always wondered a few things. The first thing I always wondered was I didn't really see many women drivers. And at night, I never saw any women drivers. So I wondered why. And after picking up thousands and thousands of passengers and women and men and hearing all the horrific stories, I realized why, that all the other rideshare companies, safety is not their top priority. And it's so unfortunate. So, I mean, I would hear stories of just uncomfortable conversations to being asked about personal questions to actually probably about 100 times I heard this, that the driver would drop off the woman and they would lock the door and say, I'm not going to let you out until you give me a kiss. I mean, stuff like that. Yes. And I mean, it just, just broke my heart that's really what is going on. But then it got even worse where they were touched and then to domestic violence, sometimes sexual assault, and you hear it all over the news. So all of these incidents for the 8 months that I was there just were in the back of my head. Well, 10 weeks ago, I had a 21-year-old young man in the back seat of my car, and he was very high on something. And he kept passing out, and then he would wake up, and he'd pass out again, and he wouldn't really tell me where he was going, so it was really uncomfortable. And after about 20 minutes, he really started to get agitated, and I was looking in my rearview mirror, and he kept like putting his hands in his pocket searching for something. So I'm like, okay, am I going to get robbed? I had No idea.
Hey.
So I was in Boston, and he finally passed out for like 10 minutes. So I drove around, and I found these 2 policemen on the side of the road, and I got out of the car, and I said, hey, can you help this gentleman in the back seat? He might need an ambulance. So they came over, they got him out, and as soon as I got back in the car, all of those incidents came back in my head, and I just said, you know what? Imagine if this was my wife. I said, I was freaked out. I said, this is not safe, and I right away, I said, I need to do something better, and I will do something better, and that is how Safer started.
Wow. And so you're starting in the Massachusetts area and then ultimately expanding? Is that your plan?
No, that was my plan. So my goal when I first started this was to have 1,000 drivers in Massachusetts by April 19th, which was last Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just say in the past week and a half, we've signed up about 3,000 drivers alone nationwide. So we have many more drivers all across the country signing up by the hour, from Hawaii to Florida to Alaska, everywhere. So what we're going to do now is we are going to slow down a little. We're going to make sure that our technology can handle this demand, because realistically, when we launch, we're going to launch nationwide in the fall. We will have hundreds of thousands of drivers. I mean, I get thousands of phone calls from men and women across the world every single day thanking us for what we're doing. It really means so much to so many people that I'm so humbled by this, because it was really just an idea to keep my children and my wife safe, and it's really resonated. I've been on every news channel from Australia to Tokyo to Africa, everywhere. Because
none as cool as Broadscast. Let's just put that
not
out
at all.
there.
No. This is really, you know what? I love what you're doing. I was reading about what you do, and it's so true. We're all about empowering women and keeping women and children safe.
And you actually give back with every fair. You're planning to give back. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, this is now my wife, who is the president of our company, Kelly. She is a nurse, and she's all about giving back. She's the most humble, caring person there is. So we're going to give 2% of every single fare back to charities worldwide. And the coolest part about that is you as a passenger, before you can even request a ride from a Safer driver, you'll have a pop-up that'll come up on your app, and it'll have 10 different charities that will rotate every single month, and you get to decide where we give our money to. So it's just like a really nice feeling before you even get into a Safer that you're helping people out.
And what's the well? Congratulations for that. That's incredible. What's the background check policy process that you're going to be doing with women drivers that are coming in? Like, what are your precautions that you're taking to make sure that we're all feeling safe?
Yes, well, our technology is second to none when it comes to that. That is the most important part, and that's where the other rideshare companies failed. Just to let you know, when I signed up, it only took them 12 hours for them to approve me. You can't do a background check in 12 hours. So really, that's a big problem, and you hear it all over the news. They just had to pay $25 million to California or whatever, because they said they had the gold standard. So what I did, when I heard all of this, I said, you know what better place to find a background screening company than the law enforcement? So I went to law enforcement, and I said, hey, this is what we're doing. We need to be the safest rideshare company in the industry. Will you tell me where to go? And 98% of them recommended this wonderful company. They're actually out of Massachusetts, and they're called Safer Places. Okay? And they do, throughout the country, the most thorough background checks. So, for example, just one little thing that they do that is huge in Massachusetts is it's called a CORI check, C-O-R-I. Okay? If you don't, everyone who's a bus driver or deals with children in Massachusetts, they have to have this CORI check. Okay, the reason they have a CORI check is the court systems in Massachusetts do not talk to each other digitally. So if I live in one town and I get arrested in another town, if you do a background check, you're never going to know. And that is so dangerous. So all of our drivers will have a CORI check. We will be eventually, we're going to be fingerprinting all our drivers. I learned a lot about fingerprinting, and you can't just fingerprint people. It has to be like legislature or a law. So that will be coming, and we will be the first ones to fingerprint too. So that's the background checks. It's going to be a very, very thorough background screening. great part about when you actually download the app and when you want a ride from a safer driver, you request it, the safer driver accepts it, a safe word will pop up on both of your phones. Okay. The reason I did this is when I used to go to colleges at 2, 3 in the morning and all the clubs were out and all the girls had a good time, I would just see a line of cars and I would see girls going from one car to the next car to the next car, and they would even jump in my car, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not your Uber driver. And I'm like, you know how dangerous that is? If you're a predator, it's like a candy store. So with this safe word, you're not allowed to get into the safer car until that driver tells you that safe word, and you on your phone, you have to validate it yourself.
Oh, I like that. So, I mean, here you are, you have this incredible company, you have such your vision is fantastic. It's for a great reason. You want to keep people safe. It's blown up bigger than you could even anticipate. So it seems like win, 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 win. But based on some reports, it's not everybody's on board. So it seems like you're up against a little bit of a challenge with discrimination laws and such. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. I mean, just to let you know, we have not had any challenges at all, okay? Everything in the media, and you hear it and all this stuff, but the reality is, I'm not a lawyer, but I have an amazing legal team. And what they said before they even joined my company, they went to the top civil rights attorneys and constitutional law attorneys in the land, and nobody said anything I was doing was illegal. It doesn't mean we're not going to get sued. It doesn't mean we're not going to be challenged. But we actually are looking forward to that, because there is a real inequality when it comes to men and women in safety and ride share and other areas too. So we are, the reason, this is really interesting, the reason we're successful before we even launch, and we're all over the world, is, and a reporter told me this, and she said, we are becoming a voice for women when it comes to safety. Okay, this reporter said, you're much bigger than a rideshare company, which really blew my mind. But she said that's why people are on board with you, because they see that you will be challenged. It's going to come, and we actually want to go in front of the Supreme Court to say, hey, you know what? This is the reality of the world we live in. It's very sad, but we need to change some laws. And that's a very rare opportunity that a company can actually change some laws. But we're going to do that because it's that important to so many people.
And so, Michael, I mean, I appreciate that, being an advocate in my other life, but isn't there a part of you that's just like, really, give me a break? I just want to have women drive women and not be hassled about it. Was there any part, rolled your eyes the first time someone commented on it being, going against the discrimination laws? Yep. Any part of you? I mean, realistically?
You know what? Not at all. Realistically, I mean, if you look on our Facebook page, I knew this was going to happen, okay? You're going to see a lot of rude, mean comments on Facebook. But then, you know what you see...
That never happens. There's no trolls on Facebook.
Right, yes. And then if you look below, so I made a policy in my company, we will not respond to anything unless it's positive. That's all we're about. And if you scroll down, you're going to see women come out and fight for us. And that is what is happening. So you know what? I welcome anybody who has freedom of speech to say whatever they want. We know all we're doing is driving women towards empowerment and safety, nothing bad, and we're just offering an alternative. And if you're with a man, and you can definitely use Uber. It's just very sad. Here's a statistic. 90% of all assaults in the rideshare industry is male versus female. So there are bad apples everywhere, but if we can eliminate that 90% and try to do our best to keep everybody safe, then we've done our job.
So because Kim and I were having a little bit of discussion before this, and we were talking about when you talk about male versus female or sexual orientation or black or white or, you don't think that you'll be up. Do you think that you'll prevail when it comes to any sort of argument that it's discrimination because of these statistics, or do you think that?
Yes, I mean, I believe it because, again, my attorneys are very confident. They've talked to the top civil rights attorneys in the country, and not one of them ever said, beware stay clear or anything. They said, you know what, this is actually something that we have a chance to do, something for women that hasn't been done in a long, long time, that we can be an advocate and a voice and change things. So yes, I'm very confident that if somebody does challenge us, that we will prevail.
But I part of what Jackie was saying, I mean, I run a business and I run support groups. And so part of my support groups, some are for females and some are for male. And when I'm bringing staff in, I am thinking of the particular type of person that would satisfy those needs. Like, I don't want to have a male coming in and running my female support group. And so my attorney on my board as well said, you got to be careful because someone could sue you for discrimination if you choose not to hire that person to run that particular group. And I'm thinking, why should my hands be tied as an employer if I'm trying to meet the needs of my clients?
Right. And again, that's the reality of the laws right now. But hopefully by us leading the charge, that maybe even when it comes to that you will have more of a choice. But I mean, just the only reason I believe we will prevail is because safety and security is involved. That's the thing. We're not trying to discriminate just to discriminate. We're just trying to keep people safe, and unfortunately, it's not happening. And that's what we need to do.
Right. Well, I have a couple dozen nieces in Massachusetts. I grew up in Massachusetts, so I'm going to send them over there to get a job with you. Okay.
Well, please do. I mean, hey, you know what? I can't drive, but I will definitely set them up so they can drive, and they'll love it. I mean, that's a whole nother avenue that we didn't even talk about. This is really very rare, as you probably know, in the age of gender gap when it comes to the pay gap. Mm-hmm. Our women drivers will make more than male rideshare drivers in other companies. And the reason that is, because of my wife, how amazing she is about giving back, is Uber, for example, they are valued at $68 billion. I would not even want $68 billion. So I'm happy with $10 billion, and we can give $50 billion to women and charities all over the world. So our drivers, the incentives that we have are just going to be second to none. Women everywhere are going to love driving for us.
Well, you let us know when you're ready, and we'll get you lots of drivers over there. So, Michael Pellets, thank you so much for joining us on Broadscast.
Oh, Good luck to you for having me. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a great day.
We'll be back right after this message.
You're listening to Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall, the most riveting hour of radio ever.
Welcome back to Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall. What a great show, Kim.
Yeah, I feel I feel like a lot. I need to think it all through.
There's a lot to process.
Digest it. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much to our guests, Cate Purvis, Trae Crowder, Michael Pellets, and you know what next week is, Kim, right?
I hear something about a day to celebrate moms. I don't know what that's all about.
So we hear. Rumor has it. Yes, but It is our Mother's Day episode. I'm really, really excited about that. So stay with us. Come back next week because we're going to be celebrating the ladies in your life. The ladies. And also, I've learned in my years with you, Kim, and the men who fill that role every single year. So
my job is done here.
Exactly. You broadened my mind. We're good to go. We're done.
If anyone has comments on today's show, please come find us on Facebook or on Twitter at Broadscast.
That's Broadscast Show.
Broadscast Show, sorry. I should know by now.
You should.
We always want to hear your opinions, and at some point they may be read on the air without attaching your name to it. But please, we want to hear what you have to think too.
Absolutely. So we will see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Adios.
You're listening to Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Sweet Little Jackie.